I have no idea.
It's not mine.
Okay.
Bring it.
Oh, really?
All right. This is my first time doing something like this, and I really appreciate Majid egging me on to kind of get me going. So thank you, Jake.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, I had an idea to do something about consciousness, and really bring it home with the cosmos and how we're all part of this huge sort of ideal and all that stuff. And then I got nervous, and I was trying to figure out at least something kind of cohesive we could work with, and that maybe y'all could understand at the same time. So I wrote this about an hour before I came here, and so it's kind of rough. But I'm gonna do one of these and something else, and well, we'll see how it goes. This is called Modern Bobby. Thank you. On his way to the bus stop, Bobby McGowan looked up and saw a bright light flash in the sky. The light grew larger and closer until it slammed into his head and knocked him unconscious. When he came to, he saw that the light was gone, and hovering over him was the word consciousness in bright neon letters. He tried to swat it away, but it dodged his every movement. Giving up, he continued to the bus with this neon consciousness following him. People began to turn and stare. Soon birds began to perch atop the word and stare at Bobby too. Bobby tried to get on the bus, but the other passengers complained about having an absurdity riding with them, and the driver kicked him off. At work, the consciousness was too large for Bobby's cubicle. The curl of the S pressed down on all the buttons of his telephone, and the top of the I brushed against his coworker's ass. Bobby was fired later that day for sexual harassment, and he could have sworn he heard the consciousness giggle. In the days that followed, he found that the consciousness prevented him from getting a job nearly everywhere, that it couldn't be covered by their insurance, and if something happened, they would suffer a lawsuit, or even worse, consciousness would get in the way of business. Then something strange happened. On his way out of the Positivity Mart, a rumbling rose up from the ground. The asphalt cracked and broke apart. And up from the ground, a concrete word rose, gray and chipping but reinforced with rebar. It spelled out, business. Bobby's consciousness flashed red, and bum rushed Bobby's new business. A crowd gathered as the two fought in the parking lot. One guy was able to film it and upload it to YouTube, even the part at the end when the two words began the unmistakable act of copulation. The video was a hit, and after the talk show and movie appearances, Bobby's consciousness and business were able to buy a small farm in upstate Vermont and raise their child marketing in relative peace. Bobby, on the other hand, became known as the man who let his consciousness fuck his business and died in abject poverty. That was my first one. Alright, here we go. Another shorty, let's hope it goes over as well. And this one, I really want you guys to look at the symbolism because it's really important to me, because I'm all about symbols. Because we're humans, My father was an electric toboggan, a gambler of uneaten creams. To these crimes he wouldn't admit, even when the cows screamed police. My mother, an underachiever, used mostly as a card-dealing machine. But whenever her arms malfunctioned, they bunched up her circuits until she screamed, 1-0, 1-0, 0, 0-0. What? But those days are not today. Today I put on my pants, and then I remove them to wear the next day. It reminds me to worry about incurable crotch rot and other kinds of decay. A garrulous position indeed. What am I saying? I cannot put my pants on today. They told me so themselves. They're without sense and remorse. They buy lottery tickets and cigarettes with counterfeit money made from pages of the Bible. Last time I did it, without heeding their cry, I ended up in some man's factory, crushing calliopes, while wailing large statements about the standing order of non-profit organizations. Then the entire world wound up to me backwards, like a bullfrog's tongue. All at once they cried, they hated me for rhyming me with me, with me. So I drew a diagram with pictures of falling snow, explaining to them that it was not me, but the pants that led me here. Though they quaked and beat their chests and took a razor to my scalp, I continued on, the great redress. Sirs, do not protest. You will always give more and more and more, and until the crowd blows out its fool's candle, the sea will surge and ruin our coasts and take our condominiums and that lovely tiki place that we used to go to all the time until you contracted the beef and began eating filth from the tub. I saw you try to push it down the drain with your toe. You can't lie about stuff like that. So today I heed my pants, even in their broken, jagged tongue. Symbols. I don't know. Oh, I'm done.
No.
I'll leave it on a high note.
No.
More?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Please take it there.
All right, well, I had this, I will digress from my prepared remarks. And I had this idea, I always heard about pi. The whole idea that was, what's it called, an infinite string. And that if that string is infinite, that means the numbers are infinite. But at the same time, if you take that infinite number, and then if you transpose it into something else, like some kind of a language, eventually you'll come to every thought in the entire universe. Every single thought that we've had, every single moment that you've shared with somebody else. It's already laid out there, just like that. And then I think about the consciousness we have and that it'll never actually escape this universe. That we're all here permanently. And that whole thing kind of bugs me. But the thing is, unless, say, a black hole comes by, shreds all that thought and all that light or whatever it is into a black hole where shonies will get up and walk over to your front door and people have really, really large heads. I don't know. It's something about consciousness. Trying to measure it all. When we think about that, we think about thought itself. And when I think about my thought, I realize that everybody else in here has a different way of thinking. And that maybe their perception of consciousness is completely different from my own perception of consciousness, which obviously goes on. And I think about back in the day. What the hell did they think? What did the blacksmith think about consciousness? Did he even worry about stuff like that? Was it only for the kings that had the time to do things like that? But then we go on and kind of move, and you see that Schopenhauer talks about the consciousness as a part of the will, and a lot of the Eastern philosophy, that we're all very much imbued with each other, but at the same time we can't see it because we have these shells that completely block us out, and then we move forward and we find ourselves in this new modern age. And we have Taco Bell. And that's kind of disheartening, but at the same time we can eat really cheaply, so I don't know where the balance comes from. And I don't know. I think that's about it right now. I'll try to write down more later. I appreciate y'all listening. Thanks so very much. Woo! My first time ever.